For those who don't know Christine, I had the pleasure of meeting Christine George last year at a conference. She's an awesome marketing and branding expert. She specializes in the real estate industry. She is the founder of a company called Post and Beam Creative, and she helps build powerful personal brands that helps attract your ideal dream client and helps you set apart yourself in a competitive market. So she'll be helping you walk through her own framework called the Elevate Framework, which is an approach to help you awaken your brand, activate your presence, and amplify your influence. So in the next about 20 minutes or so, she'll be sharing some practical tips, no fluff strategies to implement to help you stand out and consistently attract your right clients. So if you are ready to sharpen your brand and grow your business without overwhelm, you're in the right place. For those who are wondering, it is recorded. So if you have to hop off early, or if you have others that on your team that you think will find this helpful, it will be recorded and posted. So Christine, thank you for joining today and sharing a bit about your Elevate framework. I will let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here with your community. I would love to know where people are joining from. Just shout it out. Where are you tuning in from?
California.
Paul, I saw your mouth move, but I think you are muted.
Florida.
Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh, we have the country.
Florida.
Florida. Awesome. East Coast, Midwest, West Coast. Love it. Awesome. Well, I'm joining you today from just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, where the temperature is going to reach 60 today. So I am beyond excited to maybe see the light out of this snowy winter. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Super excited to talk to you about branding. It is a passion of mine for sure. All right, let's see. All right. Tell me, do you see one screen or do you see a couple screens?
Just see the one slide.
Fantastic. We're in the right place. Okay. So thanks again for having me today. I really appreciate it. If you have questions, just at any time during my chat, you can put them in the chat, and Elena will feel free to interrupt me and ask questions. And I think we're going to have time for Q&A at the end as well. So I'll go ahead and get started. Like Elena said, I'm the founder and CEO of Post and Beam Creative. We are a branding and marketing strategy firm specifically focused in the real estate space. I came into real estate 17 years ago after working in corporate America for 16 years, and I just got the bug. I have this just great endearment for real estate professionals, knowing what you do day in and day out, how hard you work, how well you serve buyers and sellers. And I think that the overall industry is really underrated. And I'm really on a mission to change that, to elevate the industry and the professionalism and the brand of the professionals that I work with. I'm also the host of the Know Like Trust for Real Estate podcast. It is a bi-weekly podcast, and I have guests on every 2 weeks who talk about all kinds of different strategies on how to market and brand yourself. So tune in for some really fun tips there as well. If we have not met before, I would love to connect with you. If you're in a place where you can take a picture of this QR code, we'll connect you to my Instagram account. I would love a follow so that I can also follow you and connect with you. If you are not in a place where you can snap a picture, my Instagram handle is at Christine Carlo George. So let's go ahead and get to it. So here's the problem. The biggest challenge we have as real estate professionals in the US, and that is that there are 1.6 million real estate agents in the US. The industry is incredibly saturated. And everybody looks and sounds the same. Everybody looks like this photograph here, this image, nobody is decipherable from anybody else. And then when you look at the landscape online, you see, sort of a conglomeration of ads like this, very noisy, very cluttered with data. The person looking, at these tiles doesn't know what they're supposed to be looking at. A lot of different fonts, a lot of different colors, a lot of different emojis, a lot of different icons. And so it's really confusing to the consumer. And it, because it's so noisy and cluttered, nobody stands out. And nobody's listening. And then, of course, as an agent, you are saddled with being a solopreneur, which means that you have to be thinking about all of these sites, right? All of your social media platforms, your third-party platforms, your own website, even your email signature and your business cards. And you have to be in control of that at all times. It can be really, really overwhelming. And so the bottom line is, or the big idea, right, is whether you're competing for a listing or setting up your dating profile, like this person may be right here, you need to stand out. You need to stand out because you want buyers and sellers to choose you. And you ultimately want to attract the people that you love to work with, right? So what is it that holds us back from being different, from standing out? It's really fear and overwhelm. And when I talk to my clients about, what is it that is making them feel overwhelmed or afraid, it's, I hear things like, I feel like I have nothing unique to say. There's nothing really special about me. I hear people say, every post feels forced, or I just want someone to do it for me, right? Because I just don't know what to say. And yet I feel the pressure to post, every day. So if this is resonating with you, let me know in the chat, is this resonating with you? I am betting that it is. So what I want to talk to you about today is the Elevate framework. And this is a framework that I created that will help you to awaken your story, activate your strategy, and amplify your brand. Well, what does that exactly mean? Awaken your story, activate your strategy, amplify your brand. These are really 3 steps, and you'll find with me, I love to organize things into buckets, and you'll see that in some additional slides. But these are really designed to help you uncover. Awaken is all about uncovering who you are, because believe it or not, we all have a special sauce, just like we all have our own DNA. That applies to your business as well. There is something very special and different about you that attracts clients that other people won't attract. And so this framework is about uncovering exactly what that is. And then the second bucket is about activating it and essentially packaging it. So how do we take what's unique about you and package it in a way that's relevant and resonates with your dream client? And then the last piece is about amplifying your brand, which is essentially how do you actually go about putting it out there so that people listen. So I'm going to show you a little bit of each of these buckets, just so you get an idea of what the steps are. And then at the end of this presentation, you will actually have, the steps to go out and create and package your own personal brand. So it all starts with how you're showing up online. So let's go back to that dating analogy. And when I show you this picture, let's say, you're on a dating app and you see this gentleman and you think, oh, he looks nice. He looks like somebody I might want to get to know. And you reach out and you make a plan to get coffee. And you get to the coffee shop and this guy shows up and you're like, what the heck? What the heck? Like, that guy is not that guy. He doesn't look anything like his picture online. And so this is, if you are not updating your profile picture, if you are not updating your headshot on a regular basis, This is how your clients feel if they show up to meet you for the first time and you don't look anything like what you look like online.
Yeah, Dave says normal real estate headshots.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or those glamour shots, right? Do you remember those? So the first thing I want you to do, and I want you to take a picture of this slide, is to audit your digital footprint. And that means your Google business profile. And if you don't have a Google business profile, I want you to set up a Google business profile. And in fact, another little tip before a little sidebar here, I want you to start sending all of your reviews to Google. Get them off Zillow. Zillow is a third-party portal. You want them to be attached to your Google business profile. So start doing that right away. You want to take a look at your website, your social media platforms, your email signature, and even your printed collateral. And you want to make sure that your headshot is up to date, all of your contact information is up to date, and that it's your bio and that it's consistent across all of these platforms. That is first and foremost, when you want to make a first impression, that is the first thing that you want to do. The second thing as it relates to awakening your story is you want to make sure you don't end up looking like this guy. This guy is trying to be all things to all people, and you can see what's happening to him here. He is absolutely overwhelmed. He is at the point of burnout. And if you are a real estate agent here with me today, I am guessing you have had this feeling because you're trying to serve too many people. And when you're trying to be all things to all people, you end up being nothing to nobody. And that's definitely not what you want to do. So what you really want to do is dig down and understand who your dream customer is. Because
sorry to interrupt, we have a couple questions in the chat for you, Christine.
Yeah.
How often do you recommend people update their headshots?
Oh, great question. Every 2 to 3 years. And the reality is, as we get older, like people like myself, we should really do it like every 1 to 2 years. Mine is due for sure. And as it relates to your digital footprint, I also recommend you do that every 6 months. Like just put a task in your task list, in your calendar every 6 months. Just go in, look at your digital footprint and make sure everything is up to date.
Yeah. And then Paul asked, how do you take old reviews and add them to Google My Business? I don't think there's a way, I think you're asking Paul, take it from another platform and add it to Google My Business. I think you just have to ask the client to
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best thing to do is make it as easy as possible for the client. Cut and paste whatever they wrote in Zillow, send it to them in email with a link to your Google business profile and ask them to copy and paste it in. Yeah, it's a great question.
We got a question from a client. There's a platform called, I think it's Rate My Agent or something, where it basically asks the client to first just write a general review, how did we do? And then I think if it's positive, then it links to all of the platforms and makes it really easy. But I've heard it's very expensive. Do you have any other platforms you recommend where it makes it really easy for someone to just cut and paste their review and post it on multiple places?
That's definitely the big one that I know of. There's also one called Experience that you can look into. I don't know how expensive that investment is. But yeah, I mean, the thing with testimonials is people are Googling you, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to Google to make sure that you're in business. And so the best way to ensure that you're getting those reviews is to have people go directly to your Google business profile. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone mentioned Linktree to link to different platform reviews.
Linktree is on Instagram, but I don't know how that would work as it relates to reviews. I think the only thing it does is give you different options to link to.
Yeah, maybe you could create a landing page of your different links and then send people there to access your different platforms.
You could. I mean, again, I would recommend making it as easy as possible for somebody to review you. So if you send them to a place where they could review you in 5 different platforms, you know, it just means they have to click one more thing. And we all know, you know, the fewer clicks, the better. So
Yeah. What we do is send an email with a direct link, like write a review for Google here, write a review for Facebook here. That's what we do.
But how many people write multiples?
right. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, chances
They
are you
click
get
one and then write one.
if you're lucky, you get the one. I
Yeah.
use Rate My Agent, and they consolidate,
Yeah.
but they have a platform where it asks if you want to put it on Google. And I'm finding that probably less than half of the people who write a review choose to add it to Google. So I think I'm just going to go to, sending them a link to my Google reviews and quit paying Rate My Agent.
There you go. Yeah. They'll write the nice review, but then they won't take the extra step to say, yeah, post it on Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if you're doing Google LSA ads, you need the reviews to hit there to keep you at all visible.
Exactly.
All these sites are like a treadmill, man. You get on it and they want you just got to keep feeding the beast.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Any other questions as it relates to reviews? Okay. Let's talk about your dream customer. Yeah.
Oh, he was just clearing his throat. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm a big believer that when you focus on your dream customer, you're able to scale your systems, free up your time, and become more profitable. And you become known for something, and you attract the people that you love working with. Now, I've had clients say to me in the past, okay, well, I really want to focus on, trade up sellers so that I get, the sell side and the buy side, the buy side. But what if a first-time home buyer comes to me, or am I going to be missing those opportunities to serve other customers? And my answer to that is this: you're never going to miss an opportunity. When you focus on your dream customer, first and foremost, you're working with people that you love to work with. And the more you work with those people, the more those types of people will continue to come into your business or be referred into your business. If, let's say, you're focusing on the trade up customer and a first-time home buyer gets referred to you, it doesn't mean you're not going to serve that customer. It just means that you're going to focus all of your marketing, all of your messaging, all of your systems around acquiring that trade up customer, so that then you don't have to worry about being all things to all people, and you have the power then to choose who you want to take in as a customer outside of that dream, quote unquote, dream customer. So I want to share a case study with you. This is Martha. Martha is a client of mine in Belmont, Massachusetts, and she was kind of like that guy. She was trying to be all things to all people because she was sort of coming from a mindset of like, I have to make sure that I capture everybody who comes into my orbit. And when it came down to it, when we peeled back the onion and really dug deep into, who she loves to serve, what we found was that she really has an affinity towards downsizers. She loves to work with people who have been in their house for 20 or 30 years, who have raised their families there, who have created years and years of memories. And she likes to help guide them through the process, because it's already stressful to have to move. But when you're somebody who's moving, after 20 or 30 years in a house, you haven't been in the real estate market in at least that long, it can be scary and confusing. And she loves to serve those customers. So once we figured that out, then we said, okay, well, what is it that makes you different? What is your promise? How are you delivering on your promise? And how do you leave your clients feeling? And that last piece is really a big, big differentiator. It's a really important question to ask yourself. One of my favorite quotes is from Maya Angelou, and she says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." And I think this is really reminiscent of real estate, because the average person doesn't move for 7 years, maybe 10 years. I think it used to be 10 years. Now it's 7 years. And so people, you can forget a lot of details in 7 years, right? But they might forget the details of the transaction they had with you, but they're never going to forget the feeling of the experience of working with you. So I challenge you guys to ask yourself, whenever you're ready, picking up the phone to call a client, or going to text them or email them, or have any type of communication with them, I want you to ask yourself, how do I want to leave this person feeling? So what is the feeling they're going to have about me at the end of their experience or their conversation with me? Because that will really help drive how you serve and what your key differentiators are. So if we go back to Martha, what we learned after we really, again, peeled back the onion about how she was actually serving downsizers, was that she had 3 main differentiators between her and her competitors. The first one was this comprehensive roadmap. She had this roadmap completely laid out, and it helped the client navigate from, preparing their home to sell all the way to what happens after closing. And she didn't even notice how valuable it was. And it really was a game changer for her. So we dusted it off, we polished it up, and now she uses it in her marketing. She also has a very, very deep knowledge of the local market. She has lived there for 30 years. She raised her kids there. She's been involved in a lot of the local groups. And so she understands, who people are in the community. She's very well connected in the community. And then, of course, she has her deep real estate market knowledge on top of it. And then the last piece is her emotional support. Now, because she has this special affinity for downsizers, she is extremely empathetic towards them, and she really understands what they're going through. And that helps her to provide an extra level of emotional support that maybe another agent wouldn't provide. Now, when I interviewed one of her clients, he told me, he said, getting rid of all the stuff as an older person, you can run out of energy to deal with it all. And I just trusted her to manage it for me. Now, this was a gentleman who had recently lost his wife. His kids were grown and flown and had children of their own. And it was time for him to downsize their home. And he had so many years worth of stuff. He was still grieving his wife. He essentially turned it over to Martha and allowed her to navigate, what was to stay, what was to go, and helped him get through that whole process so that he wasn't so overwhelmed. So, okay. Once we understand what our special sauce is and what makes us different and who we serve, the next piece is to really package that. And one of the ways we do that is through content. And we've always heard content is king, but I'm here to tell you that content alone isn't enough. Content for content's sake just doesn't work. You end up boring your viewers or your community like this gentleman is. He's on the other side of the computer and he's just like, oh my God, it's just more of the same, right? So I want to share a story with you about Barbara Corcoran, who you'll see here. Barbara, before she was a shark, she was a real estate mogul in New York City. And I like to say that Barbara was the pioneer of the market report, which all of us, as agents are putting out on a monthly basis, or some of us are even doing on a weekly basis. When Barbara was an agent, nobody was doing a market report. And what she did was she essentially took data that every real estate agent in New York had access to, and she created a story around that data. She made it readable and digestible for her buyers and sellers. And she became known as the pioneer of the market report. And so the point here is that content with your image, in your voice, and with your opinion is what builds credibility and trust. So not just taking canned content from, wherever you got it from and slapping your name on it and sending it out. That's not going to work. People want to know what you sound like, what you stand for. They want to know what your opinion is. And it doesn't mean that you have to be polarizing, but it's really important for you to let people know where you stand and what your opinion is. They want to know. And that is what's going to draw your dream clients to you. So I want to introduce you to a concept called a word bank. And a word bank is essentially a group of words or phrases that you use on the regular that people have become, they associate with you. So let me give you an example. When I put this phrase up here, everybody put in the chat, tell me, who do you think of when you see this phrase? And Elena, maybe you can tell me what people are putting in the chat.
Let's see. I'm waiting. Joey.
Yes, Joey. How you doing is like something we all say, right? We all say it. And yet you associated it with Joey because it was how he said it. It was his tone of voice. It was how he looked at you when he said it. And it was about his physicality, his body language, right? And so he has become known for this phrase, how you doing? And I mean, there's no way I could do it like him, right? And that's just a great example of taking a regular old phrase that anybody and everybody uses and attaching it to your persona in a way that makes you memorable. So when we're off the call today, what I would love for you guys to do is think about what are some words and phrases that you use in your day-to-day life that, maybe people have become associated with you, and write those down and start to build your word bank. The next piece is around consistency. So if content is king, consistency is queen. And so consistency in everything from how you show up to when you show up. So consistency means, making sure that you're out there on a regular basis so that you maintain top of mind. It also is about color consistency. For example, color consistency creates memorability and trust. So when I put these two colors, black and gold, up on the screen, tell me in the chat or yell out, what brand do you think of or what company do you think of?
Century 21.
Century 21? How about another one? Any others outside the real estate space?
Pittsburgh Steelers, someone said.
How about UPS?
Oh, that's not black. That's brown.
That is brown, right? Brown and gold.
Okay. I thought you said black and gold because it looked kind of brown on my screen.
Yes, it's brown and gold.
Okay. Yeah, Dale Jarrett.
Right. So UPS has their brown has become such a part of their brand that years ago they even had an ad campaign called Brown. Right. So you have come to recognize and know the brown truck. But what if this truck showed up in your driveway? You would be so confused. You would be really skeptical that it was actually a UPS truck, and you probably wouldn't let this person come anywhere near your house. And so this is an exaggerated example, but the point is this: when you have a color palette that represents your brand, you want to make sure that you're utilizing that color palette and not veering from it at all. Because somebody might see, a slight change in your color palette, and they might not be able to understand exactly what's off, but they'll know that something is off. Say that again. Okay. The next thing as it relates to consistency is around your typefaces. You never want to use too many typefaces because your marketing will look messy and cluttered. Just like you see here, it's a little obtuse. It's just a little hard to read. You want to make sure you stick to no more than 2 font treatments. And I highly recommend not using script. Has kind of become very trendy, but I recommend not using script on anything related to your contact information because it becomes really, really hard to read. And so, once you have maintained consistency and a cohesive look and feel on everything, on all of your assets, this is a client of ours in the Dallas Fort Worth market. You can look, this is how beautiful your brand can look. Everything from your website to your social media, to your business cards, your listing brochures, your lawn sign. When it's executed consistently across all of your platforms, it can become really powerful, just like you see here. So once you've packaged your brand, the next step is really to amplify it. And that's where marketing comes in. But it takes a long time to become memorable, for your brand to really take hold. So how many touch points do you guys think it takes for someone to remember your name? Go ahead and yell it out or put it in the chat.
Somewhere in the type of 20.
20? Okay. It's actually 3. It takes 3 touch points for someone just to remember your name, just your name. And then how about for someone to associate your name with your business? It takes 7. And then how about for someone for you to become top of mind? Like Nike, think, or FedEx, one of those. It actually takes 27. So we're talking branding is a marathon, not a sprint. It is something that takes a long time. It takes a lot of investment. It takes consistency. And then, once you have become a brand name, a household name, or when people start to associate your name with your business, that's when the magic really starts to happen. So I want to take us now into, okay, once we've established our brand, how do we actually put it out there in the marketplace? And I told you in the beginning, I love to organize things in buckets. So I have 3 buckets, or 3 different strategies for amplifying your brand through a marketing strategy. The first one is relationship nurturing. These are all the tactics you would use to nurture relationships that are already within your sphere of influence. And I would guess that most of you are doing a lot of these things already. It's your personal reach out, it's your pop-bys, your social events, your client gatherings, things like that. The second bucket is relationship building. This is where you're prospecting, right? So even if you have a huge sphere of influence, you always want to continue to bring new people into your pipeline so that you're continuing to keep that pipeline warm. And that is through building new relationships. And I'm sure many of you are doing a lot of these things as well. You do that through community and trade groups, through local business partnerships, educational events, third-party events, philanthropic campaigns, and more. And then the last piece is traditional marketing. And when I think of traditional marketing, I think of 3 more buckets: owned, earned, and paid traditional marketing. Owned marketing is anything that you create. It's any original content. And that would include your email campaigns, your social media, your website, any video, if you do video or podcasting or blogging. Earned media is anything that you earned. It's any recognition that you receive, any awards you receive, ratings, reviews, any media mentions, things like that. And then paid marketing is what you would expect. It's anything that you pay for: digital and print ads, direct mail, sponsorship, things like that. I wish we had time to go through so many of these examples. What I would love for you to do is take a picture of this slide. And I want you to think about what one thing on here are you doing and doing really well? And then answer, what is one thing that you really would like to work on and get better at? So when I think about putting your marketing plan together, I think about organizing it in these 3 buckets and then choosing 1 or 2 things within each of these 3 buckets. You don't have to do everything. It's kind of like being all things to all people. There's no way that it's feasible to execute all of these different things. So I recommend focusing on 1 or 2 things. Now, I have created a business activity calendar, which I would love to give to you all. If you want to snap a shot of this QR code, you can go ahead and download it. If you're not in a place where you can take a picture of the QR code, you can go to postandbeamcreative.com/marketing activity calendar. And this calendar will allow you to take a look at your 12-month plan. And within each of the categories, you can choose what you're going to execute over that 12 months. It's printable. You can print it out, put it on your wall, and then use it as an accountability measure to make sure that you are executing on your plan. So it's a great resource. I do want to share one tactic that I believe is the most powerful tool that you have in your arsenal to drive your business, and that is email marketing. Email marketing is extremely powerful. It is my favorite marketing tool. Social media is rented ground. I don't know if you remember a few months back, but Instagram, the whole meta went out for like two hours. Now imagine if those platforms went away for good. You would lose your contacts, you would lose your followers, all of your content. We don't own those platforms. And while they're very effective and they should be in your marketing plan, email marketing is much more powerful because you own your email list. And at some point, people have opted in to hear from you. They're already warm leads. They want to hear from you. And so no one can ever take that away. And in fact, email marketing generates $36 for every dollar spent. So it's extremely high return on investment. I want to give you an example of an email newsletter. This is a client of ours in the Seattle market who has done a phenomenal job of creating an email newsletter that is personal. In the very beginning, she showed a picture of herself and her brother dressed up for Halloween. It's also very consistent with her brand voice and her visuals, her branding, her images, her colors. And it's also laid out in a really digestible way. So, someone can look at this and say, oh, I want to read the 3rd section, but I don't have time right now. I can come back. And then the last thing I'll say is, what Darcy does a really good job of is she has her masthead, her newsletter masthead across the top. And you want to think about your masthead like your newspaper masthead. So you want to think about like any newspaper, like the Boston Globe is here in Boston, New York Times, say, that masthead hasn't changed in like 300 years, right? It is the same. So as soon as you see it, you know what you're looking at. What changes are the articles below that and inside the publication, right? So creating a masthead like Darcy has here that you see time and time again, every time your newsletter gets into somebody's box is, again, what creates that familiarity and that memorability. Okay, so as I start to wrap up here, I just want to make this distinction about branding versus marketing. Branding is emotional and marketing is promotional. Branding is what creates the loyalty and marketing is what creates sales. Without a strong branding foundation, without that loyalty, you're just spinning your wheels with a marketing strategy. Marketing is short-term, branding is long-term. So establishing a very strong brand and then layering your marketing on top is the direction that will give you the success and help you to attract those clients that you love to work with. And I believe that is it. That is it.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was so much knowledge you just shared. for the last couple of minutes, we would love to open it up if anyone had any questions to share about anything that Christine had to offer. And we also posted in the chat, if anyone missed it, your website as well as your Instagram. I'll post it again in case anyone was a latecomer. I'll grab that.
Awesome.
But did anyone have any questions for Christine before we head out?
Awesome.
No?
Christine, I presume that you provide branding and marketing services.
We do. Yeah.
What does that cost?
It really kind of depends. I mean, we're a custom tailored type of a firm. So, your branding starts at a minimum of, $7,500 and can go up to, $50,000 depending on the size of your project. From a marketing strategy perspective, I have a number of coaching options. So if you wanted to do a one-on-one with me, just like 90 minutes, just to uncover, something very specific, that's $450. If you wanted to do 3 sessions with me, that would be $1,200. And if you wanted to do 6 sessions over a 2-month time period, that's $2,250. But then again, we also do like bespoke design. So if you have something that doesn't fit in those buckets, we would tailor quote something for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate you doing this call and sharing so much knowledge with us. And like I mentioned, it was recorded, so we will be posting that on the Facebook community. And yeah, thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate your time.
I really appreciate the invite, and I would love to connect with all of you. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. Thank you, Christine. Take
Bye.
care.